If you are a degenerate like me, that means you are still playing for a fantasy football championship here in week number 18. But before we break down 5 defenses that are going to help you, RotoBaller, we have some exciting news to share. We have teamed up with Novig, America's #1 sports prediction market, and this is not your typical sports book. On Novig, you are playing against other real users, not the house, on a commissioner-free exchange, meaning better odds and more control. Right now, Novig is offering a purchase match of up to $25 when you sign up with code BALLER, and you'll get 1 month of RotoBaller Premium free. That's picks, projections, and tools to help you stay sharp. Novig's available in most states, lets you take the best odds or offer your own, and even includes free Novig coins so you can play for fun. Download the Novig app, use code BALLER, and start playing smarter today. Now, let's get into those 5 defenses fantasy managers can start with confidence in week number 18. And we're starting things off with the Kansas City Chiefs as they take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I know the Chiefs have nothing to play for at this point in the season, but the Raiders offense, they haven't done any playing at all throughout any point of this season. Las Vegas averages fewer yards and points per game than any other team through 17 weeks. It wouldn't surprise anybody if Kenny Pickett is back under center this week after Geno Smith exited last week's contest against the Giants with an ankle injury. That may have been the best gift the Raiders could have given their fan base at this point. The last time the Raiders gave the ball to Pickett as a starter, he wound up completing 15 of 25 passes for 64 passing yards. 64! In that lone start against the Eagles, Pickett threw an interception and he was sacked 4 times. Picks and sacks basically sums up the Raiders season in 3 words, as they've thrown 18 interceptions this year and have taken a league-high 61 sacks thus far. While the Chiefs have suffered their share of injuries heading into this contest, the last time that they played the Raiders, they held Pickett and Smith to 12 of 18 passing for 75 yards, and they limited Ashton Jeanty to 2.3 yards per carry in a 31-0 victory. Another defense I like is the Buffalo Bills as they take on the New York Jets. With that Bills loss last week, the New England Patriots are your AFC East champs, and that probably doesn't sit well with this Bills team, especially with that defense that held Jalen Hurts to 110 passing yards, held A.J. Brown to less than 70 receiving yards, and they contained Saquon Barkley and that rushing attack to 68 yards on the ground and 3.6 yards per carry. Heading into that contest against the Eagles, the Bills defense had been reeling when it comes to stopping the run. Maybe the weather helped, but you don't ask how, you ask how many. And the truth is, while the weather report may suggest one thing, the Jets offense in general haven't been able to overcome any sort of storm at any point in the 2025 season. Last week, Breece Hall, he would end up with 111 yards on the ground, but it is worth noting that 59 of those yards came on a single play. Offensively, the Jets have thrown nearly as many interceptions, 13, as they have touchdown passes, 14, and the 145.8 passing yards per game are the fewest in the league on a per game basis by a full 18 yards per contest. Meanwhile, only the Raiders quarterbacks have been sacked with more frequency than Jets signal callers. Another defense to feel good about this week. How about the Jacksonville Jaguars as they take on the Tennessee Titans? Jacksonville still has plenty to play for in this contest as the #1 seed in the AFC is still up for grabs, and there is a path in which the Jaguars can clinch home field advantage and make the whole thing come through Duval County. While the Tennessee Titans, they're simply playing for pride. Since week number 10, the Jaguars are averaging 10 fantasy points per game and have produced double-digit fantasy points in 5 of their last 7 contests. The last time Cam Ward faced the Jaguars, he completed 24 of 38 passes for 141 yards, and he was sacked on 3 occasions. A 7-point outing should be considered the floor for the Jaguars this week, as only the Chicago Bears have forced more turnovers this season than the 30 the Jaguars have picked up heading into week number 18. Another team you're starting here in week number 18, how about the Houston Texans as they take on the Indianapolis Colts? The Phillip Rivers story is made for TV. That said, with the season officially over, Indianapolis could turn to Riley Leonard to see what they have in the rookie from Notre Dame. Houston has a front end that matches the back end and has forced 18 interceptions and 26 total turnovers this season, the third most, while Donnell Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. have provided nightmare fuel for opposing quarterbacks, combined for 26 of the Texans' 46 sacks this season, which ranks 5th as a team. Since week 10, the Texans are tied with the Jaguars, averaging the 2nd most fantasy points per game, while placing only behind the Seahawks on the season, averaging 9.6 fantasy points per game. Looking at their scoring output for the season, Houston has only fallen short of 7 fantasy points in 4 of their 16 contests. And finally, let's fire up the Baltimore Ravens against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Through the first 8 weeks of the NFL season, no team averaged fewer fantasy points per game than the Baltimore Ravens, 1.7. Over their first 7 games, the Ravens had 4 weeks in which they registered negative fantasy points. Like they say where I come from, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. And since week number 9, the Baltimore Ravens' 9.6 fantasy points per game are the 4th most in fantasy. Over that 9-game stretch, the Ravens have reached 7 fantasy points or more in 7 of those 9 contests. Winner of this game, they punched their ticket into the postseason as the AFC North champions. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, they will once again be without DK Metcalf, which ultimately means the Steelers will be without a passing game once again, much like they were last week against the Browns, as Aaron Rodgers threw for 168 yards on 39 passing attempts. Teams have had success throwing against the Ravens, but the cast of Pat Freiermuth, Scotty Miller, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Jonnu Smith, and let's say Adam Thielen, they won't be keeping defensive coordinator Zach Orr up at all this week. Now, if you haven't already done so, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit RotoBaller.com for all the latest fantasy news and analysis. We'll see you next time.